Welcome back in to the Midtown Madness podcast with Peter Hale and Zach Miller. I'm Zach Miller, joined by Peter Hale. You may notice a little different production quality on this episode. We're kind of operating on the fly. I had a technical difficulty with my laptop, so it's in the hands of Apple, the Genius Bar. Hopefully, get that back ASAP. It's been a big week for the Billikens, man. We got a lot to talk about. It seems like it's, you know how they say like bad things come in threes. It seems like everything Billikens comes in like that.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer news wise for us. I feel like in other seasons we've gone months at a time with nothing happening, but every time we record a show, something big happens within 48 hours, and then they keep stacking on top of that. So yeah, we've got plenty to go over.
But we have some big show news. Do you want go? You did all the legwork on this one, so I want you to. I mean, well, technically, I guess I think people know, but I did we announce it? I feel like we may have announced it. We announced that he was coming on, but I don't know. Have we recorded since we talked to him?
Yeah, well, we haven't recorded a full show since we talked to him, but you teased in Twitter that we've got a big one to drop for everybody.
Go ahead and let people in on the secret.
So we recorded what is now going to be part one of a two-parter with Kevin Lish. There's some logistical challenges because he's in Australia and he's 15 hours off of St. Louis time, or 15 hours ahead, I guess I should say. But we talked to him for a little under an hour and a half, or about an hour and 25 minutes. And we only just got to the end of his SLU career. So, so it's been a jam-packed interview. It's been great so far. Great talk. Kevin's had a good time. He's in the process of moving right now in Australia. So he had a hard stop on our first show at an hour and a half. And we're gonna.
And that was my fault. That was my fault.
Oh.
I set it up for an hour and a half, and when I should have maybe clued him in that it could go longer, and I may have not.
So we're going to record the second half. We're working on scheduling that now. It should be happening within the next few weeks. We told him it may, the second half probably isn't going to be a full hour and a half, but we'll have some more stuff to go over. His pro career in Australia, national team experience down there, and just kind of what he's up to these days now that he retired. So plenty more to talk about, but it's been great so far, and really excited about being able to share this with everybody.
I gotta say, it could be an hour just on his Olympic career. Oh, speaking of which, so just to let everybody in on kind of behind the scenes, I'm recording at my mom's house in her old office, and I found this.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, if you're watching on video, I have my background blurred because it's not my preferred setup. But I found the 06-07 men's basketball pocket schedule, just literally sitting right next to this computer setup that I have. Let's see, we have Billiken women's basketball versus Fordham, Billiken women's basketball versus Charlotte. So I thought that was crazy that they're sitting right here. And a letter from Andrew Duskett. So shout out Andrew Duskett, director of ticket operations, former director of ticket operations. So anyway, sorry, I sidetracked us on that one. But Kevin Lish, unbelievable interview. I joked that there's probably a whole nother hour just on his Olympic experience in itself. So we'll see where it goes. I was super happy. He gave us some great feedback, I thought, at the end when we closed out the talk with him.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, from our end, because scheduling is tough, and he's a busy guy. He's married, he's got 4 kids, he's a professional basketball coach. So it's we're always worried about, are we actually going to get that second half? But it seems like he was having a good time, like you said, some good feedback. So I think for sure, he'll follow up and finish it off with us.
I think it's just a matter of when. Besides the show specific exciting news, we got a couple of commitments that that just came down the pipeline in the last week or so.
Yeah, this is exciting news. It's been a while since SLU has had this early commitment for the next class. I feel like Hargrove a few years ago was kind of in this timeline, kind of the early midsummer timeline. We haven't had lately guys who are recruiting or who are committing almost a full year out of when they'll land on campus. But we've had two in the last couple of weeks here, and they're both local kids, both very exciting. First one was Nick Kramer from St. Louis U High. And he's, speaking of Kevin Lish, if you look at highlights on Kramer or go watch him play this season, you'll see a lot of Kevin Lish in his shot. He's got kind of a fearless jump shot that he makes it off the catch, off the bounce, going any direction. Really, really good shooter. His shooting numbers are just unbelievable. Whether it's at SLU or whether it's in AAU playing for Bradley Beal Elite, which he is currently doing. Really good build, strong guy. He's got a body type that's going to translate to the college level. He'll be able to guard, probably the 1 through the 3 with success. If show favorite Anthony Drea, one of the best Billiken defenders in recent history. Kramer's defense reminds me a lot of Drea. When I watch him, I've heard a couple other people say that as well. So he's tough, he's efficient, really nice player. Do what you can to go see him play this season for SLU High as a senior. He'll have plenty of good games around the metro area. And then Brad Beal Elite, they're playing in the EYBL season coming up. And his teammate on Brad Beal Elite, Kellen Thames, just committed the other day as well. And this is a big get because his dad is a legendary Mizzou player. A lot of St. Louis fans will remember his dad from Jennings High School, went on to Mizzou, played, big time freshman season. And then I think right at the end of the year, blew out his knee and it was a big setback, and it's a big what if for that Mizzou program that had really peaked under Norm Stewart at that time. And he was kind of their centerpiece. And so he came back and played 3 more seasons, was never really, I don't think he was ever really 100% because of the knee injury. But given that Mizzou legacy, to land him at SLU is a big deal. Mizzou just got a commitment out of East St. Louis, a kid named Christian Jones, similar size, similar player to Thames. So once that happened, it kind of, I think, put the writing on the wall that Mizzou didn't have a spot for him. At least that's kind of what it looks like from the outside. I don't know what all those conversations are like, but Kellen says he's 6'6". Maybe in shoes, but
that's like me saying I'm 5'11" in the morning.
Yeah, there you go. So, but his dad's 6'7" and he's 17 years old, so he may very well end up close to that as well. He plays at Pattonville High School. He's kind of a complete do-it-all guard, just like Kramer, averaged just over 19 points this past season, 7.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2.5 steals. He was first team All Metro, Conference Player of the Year, and he's kind of reignited that Pattonville program with his dad coaching. And as SLU Mizzou fans will know, local basketball fans will know, his dad and Corey Tate, SLU assistant, played with each other for 3 seasons at Mizzou. Tate spent his first year, which would have been Kelly's injury year, at Mineral Area College, and then they overlapped those next 3 seasons. So Tate went to Pattonville High, where the Thames duo coach and play right now. There's just a lot of connective tissue there, and so it wasn't entirely surprising to see him commit to SLU, given all these ties.
Was that an injury pun with connective tissue?
It wasn't, but we can pretend it was.
Talk to me about some of their offers, because if we're being honest, the Kellen Thames recruitment has been pretty low key, if I recall correctly, and Nick Kramer, kind of a late bloomer, if I'm remembering.
Yeah, I think both of those statements are correct. Kramer is, I think one kind of disadvantage he's had is he plays on a high school team that hasn't been very good the past few years. They're coached by SLU legend Erwin Claggett, and they've gotten better each of the past couple seasons, but But unfortunately, they play in such a strong conference with Desmet and Chaminade and CBC that SLU's kind of been at the bottom the last couple of years, but probably has an opportunity to make a little bit of a leap this year. And then at the same time, he's in a loaded AAU program, and only really this spring and summer has he started to kind of open eyes with his play for them. So he had a few other offers. He had an offer from UAB, which is coached by Andy Kennedy, who actually played with Kramer's dad at UAB back in the early 90s. Kramer's dad from Quincy, Illinois, played a year at Michigan and then transferred to UAB, played alongside Andy Kennedy, who was their best player at the time. So he got an offer from UAB. He had one from Alabama A&M, and then SEMO. And then, like you said, Kellen, Thames, his recruitment has actually been pretty quiet because he doesn't have any social media presence, or he didn't until the last few months. And so it was hard to kind of tell, where's he getting offers from, what coaches are tracking him. It seems like he and his dad kind of just kept things quiet and low key. So he had an offer from Georgetown, actually. And then Southeast Missouri was second, and then SLU and Mizzou. He visited both campuses in the last month or two, and both offered as well. So each guy really just 4 offers, but the timing is interesting because now that they're playing with Bradfield Elite, which is generally one of the better teams on the Nike EYBL, the AAU circuit. The EYBL season has been compressed to July 13th to 19th. And then the Peach Jam, which is like the playoffs, the championship part of that, is the 20th to the 25th. So really, these are both guys who, had they not committed, they have an opportunity to blow up their stock over the next few weeks here. And I wouldn't I wouldn't be upset if they both played great down there. And it looks like SLU might have gotten a steal 2 times.
Pete, unbelievable recaps. I know I get texts constantly from people just raving about how much you are aware of recruiting and plugged in you are. So I know it's a huge segment on this podcast. So I know everybody appreciates that. But we go through people who are coming into the program. Now we got to talk about people that are leaving the program. And we're not talking about anybody transferring out, which is awesome. We get to talk about good leaving. French and Goodwin have announced through various channels that they will not be returning to St. Louis University and will be continuing on their pro career journey. What have you seen? Have you seen them? Where have they worked out so far? Because I know a couple NBA teams have had Goodwin and Hassan out, and we talked a little bit about Hassan working out for the Titans as well.
Yeah, we talked about his NFL tryout, and who knows what's in the future down that path. But French has also he's gone to pro combines in Tampa, which Goodwin also played in. They were both in that one.
That was like a NBA draft adjacent combine, because they like had it in the same place, but it was like branded differently.
Right, and they both played really well in it too. Yeah. I think French right now is doing one in Miami. He did one in Chicago, and then I think he did a workout for the Magic, Orlando Magic, and then Goodwin was just at Golden State this week working out for them. I know he's also been out to Charlotte, and I want to say there was at least one other team that he worked out for as well. So they're both working out for NBA teams. I think they both realized they're long shots to be drafted. Mm-hmm. But they are staying in the draft, officially, and if they're not drafted, they'll kind of see where their pro careers take them, whether it's G League, overseas. I think it was rumored this week that French might be looking at the Greek League or something like that.
He signed. He actually signed.
He did sign? Okay.
He did sign. He signed with give me one second. But talking about Golden State, it feels like that would be a kind of a franchise that would take a look at Goodwin, because they just seem to think outside the box when it comes to players and what players bring to the table.
Yeah, I think like I think of a guy like Pat McCaw, who came from the St. Louis area and played at CBC, and then played at UNLV, and coming out of none of us really thought of him as like this NBA player, and then all of a sudden there he is like an early entry into the draft, and Golden State takes him, and he's kind of been this nice 3-and-D NBA role player. Goodwin, I think it's true about both players, but Goodwin has such a unique skill set. Nobody rebounds as a guard like he does. He hunts the ball. He's just a really unique player. So you never know. And the other thing going on right now is a surprising amount of players have pulled their names out of this draft. A lot of guys who were either projected as second rounders, or certainly had higher expectations than or rankings, or whatever you want to call it, than French or Goodwin. So there are a lot of guys that are thought to be ahead of them are going back to school, and who knows what that does. Maybe somebody takes a flyer on one of them late in the second round or something, and if not, there are a lot of ways to get to the NBA anymore. They've got scouts everywhere. They're really sophisticated operations. If they want you, if you're good, if you're out there, they'll find you. So just because guys don't get drafted doesn't mean there's no future for them there.
Okay, so I have multiple different sources that say he was close to signing with Lavrio of the Greek League. And then his Wikipedia says he has signed, or he is a player for Lavrio. So, and it's GS Lavrio Basketball Club, also known as Megabolt, or they're sponsored by Megabolt. So Lavrio Megabolts would be the way you would talk about him, I guess, if you're in Greece. So it looks like he is either really close to signing or has signed with that club.
Yeah, which would be a great fit. I think that's that's a really strong basketball country, basketball league. So I guess maybe he got feedback that he probably wasn't going to get drafted, and that's a really, you can do a lot worse than that than playing in Greece. I think that's one of the more stable places overseas, one of the better places. So good for Haas, and I hope that works out. And we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, that club or that league also has Panathinaikos. It has PAOK, and I think there's one more that people would know. I guess AEK is a name that people might know from soccer as well, which is kind of the cool thing about European professional leagues is they have these clubs that have different sectors, which is really kind of neat. I think we see Goodwin, if he doesn't make the NBA, it wouldn't surprise me to end up over in Australia. Just keep that pipeline going, because I mean his skill set seems perfect for that league.
We'll have to talk to Alish about him. Put him on.
Yes.
Put him on the radar.
I'll be his man. I'll be Jordan Goodwin's manager if he needs it. We'll make that connection. It's exciting for those two guys. I really hope that they have long, successful careers, and I know Billiken fans in general do. There's a lot of big news. It's fun, exciting news. I'm excited about this one. I've been banging this drum for going on 15, 20 years now. The Billikens are up in their apparel game, and I am so pumped. I know these are the kind of shirts that you wear constantly on the podcast. You are wearing shirts that this fits directly in your style and my style most of the time too. Billikens are we know they're signing home field apparel, but they've added 19.9, and it looks like they're going to add authentic replica Nike jerseys to the offerings this year. How excited are you?
This is huge. I've been wanting the Nike jerseys for 20 years now. I've been waiting for that.
You're almost past your jersey wearing period.
I'm way past it. Like it looks ridiculous on me. Somebody as pale and doughy I need sleeves. People want to not see this, but My son, who's 5 years old,
Mhm.
for his 5th birthday, just got a Xavier authentic Nike jersey. You're right,
No.
because we're in Cincinnati. It's where my wife's family all went.
Yeah.
It's where they follow, and maybe they're going to capture him early because he's
This is
got
the
a jersey to
problem.
wear around. Exactly.
This is the problem we're solving.
So the jerseys are huge for me because then at least now I can give him another choice there. The other brands are really cool stuff though. Home Field has kind of that. They'll take the school's sort of vintage logos and slogans and everything and put them on t-shirts and they look great. High quality stuff. 19.9 is cool because they kind of do the same thing, but they also have shorts,
Yeah.
um,
I
which
don't
is
know how
huge.
much. Oh, I don't know how much run those will get on me. I mean, I'll wear them around the house, but I don't know. I'm not a basketball short wearer anymore. I was in college big time, but I will definitely get a pair just to, just to say, hey, people want this. So,
Yeah, I mean, so all three of these are super exciting. I mean, are there any? What stands out for you in this grouping here? What are you most excited?
um, I mean, well, it's funny. I had a conversation with an athletic department member. Actually ran into them out and about a few weeks ago, and actually mentioned 19.9 specifically to them. So that's kind of funny, which makes me happy. Um, I've been banging the drum for jerseys just like you have for years. Ever since they stopped, because the last one we had was a number 2, and we all know whose jersey that was. Uh, so I'm excited about that. And 19.9 was something I pushed as well. So, I just went into Rally House today and again reminded myself how currently it's not very good. So this is big. The jerseys are probably the biggest one, I think. College kids will go ape shit over them. I'm sure of it. And I still maintain, like, if you guys have seen pictures from when I went to the A10 championship, like, I still maintain you can rock a long sleeve with a jersey. Like, that's how you pull it off as an old fogey like us. I think you can still pull it off with a long sleeve shirt. But so I'll still do it. The shorts, they'll be great, to wear around the house and sleep in. But I don't know how much run they'll get at the games. But definitely gonna purchase them.
Kind of feel
Um,
like if you're at a home game supporting your team, it's like kind of all bets are. You can wear whatever you want, man. I mean, like the long
yes,
sleeve in a jersey, like do it. I mean, unfortunately, basketball is a winter sport,
yes,
so you're not getting a lot of people like just in a jersey or in the shorts or some of the other crazy. Like nobody's painting their chest or anything at a game when you've got to wear
could.
a parka on the way out to your car. But no, I mean, yeah, this is like I look at 19.9 and Home Field, and I look at like some of the other comparable schools, right?
Mhm.
Because we're not going to get the selections that like a Notre Dame or some or a UNC or USC or any of these big programs have. But I look at like our comparable like peer schools at all their stuff, and I kind of go, yeah, I would wear all of that. Like whether I'm looking at what George Washington or Dayton or Xavier or Richmond or any of these schools have on these sites, I look at those and I'm just like, yeah, I'll just take one of each in my size, and like it's great stuff. Really excited about it.
Let me make sure I don't have anything weird up on this computer. But I'm going to try to share my screen, but I guess that's not gonna happen. Yeah, I have no idea how to do that. Never mind, guys. Sorry, bad radio. But I'm looking right now at these shorts, and I mean, yeah, as long as they stop at my thighs, or my lower thigh, I think I'll be all right with them. You know, they look amazing. I'm picturing the NIT Final Four type shorts, or even going back to the 49. You know, who knows? It's an endless possibility. I think the final frontier for this though has to be to expand the offering from Nike. I think that's the next move. I think you need to see, the kind of offering that you go into Rally House and see Missouri State or Mizzou have at Rally House, where there's a lot of different Nike polos. There's a lot of different Nike jackets or whatever. So I think that's the final frontier for Billiken Athletics when it comes to gear.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're a Nike school, so I'd like to see us build that out as much as possible first. But yeah, it's exciting because I know you have been banging the drum basically your whole life
Yes. I mean,
for better
that's
apparel.
that's the one thing that I know for, like, I would be terrible working for the athletic department in media relations. Absolutely terrible. And I know that because I'm impulsive and I am brash, but apparel and licensing, my goodness, I could do some stuff there. Like, that's where my niche is. So it's always been a passion of mine. And the only downside I see to the 19.9 partnership is the price point. The shorts are $70, which, I mean, if we're going to be honest, the market is twofold on this. It's diehard fans that are willing to spend their disposable income regardless, and fans of basketball that just find these shorts cool as shit. So it's an interesting. It'll be interesting to see how 19.9 goes.
Yeah, and certainly, they'll see how SLU fans are voting with their dollars and everything. I
Yeah.
don't think these are going to be huge runs, huge
Right.
production runs. Like, they're not going to need to sell 10,000 of them or anything.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, but again, like, apparel is such a funny thing because what's the golf shirt brand that does like
Peter Millar.
Peter Millar?
I
So
think they're
I
working
have
on that.
I have friends who want SLU Peter Millar shirts that are like
That's common.
they're like $120, which,
Yeah.
like, I'm not a golfer. And that's not me at all. But in my age group, which is like nearing 40 now, I guess that's an acceptable and reasonable thing, is to buy $120 golf shirt with your college logo on it. So $70 for shorts doesn't seem that crazy to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the at a lower price point, they have practice shorts, which are pretty cool. The retro style mesh, if you, I guess, if people that watch the original Space Jam, when they go into Michael Jordan's house to get his North Carolina shorts, that's the shorts. That's that style, the mesh. So those will be those are 55, and these are, I mean, that'll be for guys like us that want to wear them, sitting at the pool, or maybe wear them to the mall, or what, if we're doing something and we can dress crummy. Not crummy. I don't want to say crummy, talking about the brand, but you know what I mean? Not, a little more stylish than basketball shorts, but still, what's the word? Loungewear.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, right.
but I think we rambled on enough about my favorite topic for the day, which is sad because we have so much good stuff to talk about. The NIL, which I believe stands for name, image, likeness. I think that's what I have.
Correct.
That's a big time announcement. I have mixed feelings. I've always had mixed feelings. I worry about, obviously the future of college athletics, amateurs, and all that good stuff. I'm somewhere in the middle on this. I'm glad that they're going to be able to make some money. I don't know, I wonder how much really will actually be made by these athletes, honestly. What do you make of this now? I mean, for in a Billiken slant. I mean, obviously we're going to get into the possibilities, but what do you see? Where do you see the Billiken athletes across the board being able to take advantage of this?
So the things that we've seen so far is like, Fred Thatch is going to be hosting a camp down in Sykeston, where he's from, and where, like, he holds a lot of records.
Yes.
Sykeston was really successful when he was there. So there are a lot of kids in the Sykeston area who would love to play at Fred Thatch's basketball camp. And camps are great money. Any coach anywhere at any level could tell you camps are great money, because,
Yes,
like,
they are.
you start doing the math and you're like, how many kids do I get in here at a couple $100 a pop for 5 days? And, like, you start, oh wow,
Yeah.
there's a little multiplier there. And what a great thing to do. It's completely pure. You know, like we said, he cannot use like SLU or Billiken or any of that kind of stuff on his you know, flyers for it or his website for it or anything like that. But for just Fred Thatch to hold it back, that's such a, to me, a pure expression of like how athletes should
This
be
should
living.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like there's nothing ethically wrong there. There's no reason that this couldn't have been happening for the past century in NCAA sports.
You're
I
right.
think that's
No,
pretty great.
that's
The other one that we've seen so far with SLU players is a Jimerson all of a sudden is a quote
it.
unquote barstool athlete.
Is that actually true?
Yes, he's put it on his social media, but if you've, I don't know if, so I had to do a little research here. I'm not a barstool sports guy at all. I can't stand anything about it, but
Well, that makes one of us.
so so apparently a couple weeks ago, a volleyball player, a college volleyball player, reached out to Barstool and said, "I want to be the first Barstool athlete," and they just said yes. And so I watched the little minute video from them trying to explain what that meant, and they basically don't know what it means yet.
It just
They
means they're
basically,
getting paid.
yeah, well, so they haven't worked out terms. They haven't worked out what that actually means. But any athlete that has reached out to Barstool and said, "I want to be a Barstool athlete," they've just accepted. I think the way that their CEO or whatever put it was, any,
Eric Canardini is their CEO, by the way.
okay, there was the other, it was the Dave,
Oh, Dave Portnoy,
yeah. So
the owner.
he said, if you are a college athlete with a pulse, reach out to us and you can be a Barstool athlete.
I
So I
love
don't know
that.
what that
Guy's
means
got
yet.
so much. That guy's got such big balls when it comes to just go out and do it. Although they were really late on it. They didn't have a plan, which
No.
actually seems insane because they're usually ahead of the game on a lot of this stuff.
So we'll put that under the basket of like, we don't know where this is
Yes.
going or what that means, but a lot of athletes are jumping in on that. So that's what we've seen so far from SLU players. People have been talking about local advertisements, stuff like that. But when you think about it, like you said, like what there is a limit to their opportunities. You know, it's not like every single Cardinals player or Blues player has
Yeah,
local
I mean,
advertisements.
I think the only local athlete right now is a Maroon, or not even Maroon, Ryan O'Reilly, and Maroon have the car shield deal.
Right. And it is more meaningful if there are guys who like grew up in St. Louis, played high school, and now play college ball in St. Louis. I think there is a little more connection there, you know, with like a guy like Hargrove, for instance, than there would be for like, I don't know, the 19th guy down the Blues roster or whatever. But still, there is a limit to what they're going to be able to do. Monetizing their social media, you know, if is a possibility, but again,
That's
you know,
that's where
for,
I was going to lead next. Is I
yeah,
think the biggest opportunity is social media. You're not going to get a lot of guys, and I think that's where the world is going in general. Is that, you know, there's not a lot of just like getting on the radio. Like you're not going to hear a radio commercial or like a
right,
Jason Tatum Emo's Pizza commercial type deal.
right,
This is going to be, you know, Manscaped, to talk about something I know a little bit about. It's going to be like, gosh, who else? Like ExpressVPN or NordVPN. Like it's going to be these, you know, Shady Rays or whatever companies. All those companies can sponsor the pod if they want. But yeah, it's going to be more social media. And camps, I think, are something that nobody's talking about. And I think Fred is genius for going there.
Camps are financially maybe the biggest opportunity in the immediate future for them, because like with social media, as much as I hate to even drop his name, there are only so many Austin McBrooms, like people who can actually make a very good living off of their Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You know, you have to be like, I don't know, the kind of personality like him that just chases celebrity shamelessly, or you have to be a super attractive woman. Well, you know, there's going to be opportunities there, as we've already kind of seen with some college athletes. I mean, there's for like, if we're just thinking about like our basketball players or our soccer players, there's only so many opportunities you have with that, and you can only get so big. So I think what I kind of like about this is that, like, it's not like we're seeing out of control dollars right away. I think there are going to be situations like you've already seen some kind of, you know, they're already going to run up to the limit of what these rules allow in SEC
Yeah.
football recruiting, for example. Like,
I
hey, we
can't believe
can't
we're
give
not
you
seeing
money
car
now.
dealerships like just
Yeah,
go
like
ape shit.
we can't just back up the money truck now, but if you come here, there are opportunities for you. So it's kind of an indirect thing. And it's something that's going to have to work itself out over the next few years in that sense. But just at the base level, them being able to monetize their name, image, and likeness, it's something that I've never understood why they can't already. But another thing that before I forget, Cameo is another thing that I've seen players get.
Oh my God. OnlyFans too. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that might run up against the school rules
Oh,
on it, but Cameo is one where, like, I mean, think about yourself as a kid, or like, my son or whatever, like they look up to these guys like they're, heroes. And if one of them's on Cameo for 40-60 bucks somewhere in there, and I can get him to say happy birthday, to my kid for 2 minutes, like that's a really easy way to make money, and it's not something that you're going to make $1 million off of, but if you can have a little weekend spending money for saying happy birthday or whatever to a few kids over the course of a month, that's great.
Yeah, I think another player who could just insanely do well or do insanely well with this is Terrence. I think he's got such a cult of personality, and I say that in a good way. Over in East St. Louis, I think he's got a great sense of humor on social media. I don't follow it really that much because this TikTok isn't my thing. But I think he just does really well on social media and has a great sense of humor, and I think he'd be perfect to run a camp over in East St. Louis and make just a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, I think so. Are there any other, like, while we're still on the subject, any other deals with college athletes that you've seen that have kind of stood out to you that as maybe interesting?
I saw those twins.
Oh, from
Where
Fresno State.
yeah, saw that one. I don't know. I think I'm going to enroll in the University of Phoenix and be Barstool's first triathlete.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
I think Dayton basketball announced.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I forgot that one. Yes.
Yeah, so it's like a real estate development or developer or something like that who's using them to kind of sell apartments. It's kind of a weird one, but honestly, Dayton is a great place for they're the big show in town. They're not competing with pro sports. It's a small to medium sized market, and their players have a lot more recognizability in that market. It's it might be a lot easier for these opportunities to pop up for you in Dayton than if you say went to like St. John's and you're in New York City and you think, wow, New York City unlimited, but you're a small fish in the biggest possible pond there. So I think you're going to see a lot of high school recruits making decisions with a little bit more thought about what they want to do with their future in sports and out of sports, and have to kind of become savvy about how they think about that.
So we'll just run down the SLU guidelines. Cannot use Billikens or St. Louis University. Can use St. Louis or, as I roll my eyes, Team Blue. One day I'll have to actually go into my rant on that, but that's another day. Maybe if we go on like a losing streak this season, I'll go on a rant about it. Cannot promote a product that conflicts with current athletic sponsors, which leads me to a question that I just thought of. What about like Icon, like used to be the flats right across from where Del Taco used to be? Couldn't an athlete essentially trade a room for? I mean, I know they get room with it, but if they wanted a nicer apartment, like couldn't they like go to the place and be like, hey, I'll pimp out your resident space for in exchange for a year's rent? That would be a good. We could talk out ideas like for the next 20 minutes.
I think well, the bottom line is the first thing that they're going to have to run every opportunity through their in-house sort of
and they're going to have a lawyer, I think, come in and talk.
Yeah, and I know they've already had a number of meetings and presentations and
Mhm.
trainings on this. All the players have. So they can't just jump at any opportunity, but it's also like they can't just like get stuff from a team
Right.
sponsor or a donor or whatever. They can't just say, hey, you live here now, and or you have this car now or something like that. Like
Mhm.
you actually have to, like, do the work, whether you're, you know um
It has to be a trade of some sort. It has to be a
right, right. Like whether they're using
contract.
you as a spokesperson or a model or whatever kind of work you're doing for them. They can't just give you money for being
Right.
an athlete there. And I know there's going to be some questions that come up. So in that specific instance, I don't know. But I'm sure that's something that internally that the athletic department has thought about and is giving them guidance on.
So one of the kind of a crossover with our earlier topic is merchandise. So when we talked about the Nike jerseys, it appears that they're going to put the number 18 on the jerseys, which is fine. I'm wearing a Billiken baseball jersey that actually has a number 18. I swear I didn't think this out. But my question to West Pine Bills, and we've had conversations about trying to start up a merchandise, get a thing through the athletic department, get a license, but could I mean, couldn't players now just sell shirts with logos on them? I mean, I would imagine
Um,
they could come up with a logo for themselves and now sell shirts.
if it's their own, ooh, so okay, it can't conflict with any existing athletic sponsors or deals. So I guess the athletic department could make the case that apparel, because they have an apparel deal, apparel might be off the table.
But as
Um,
long as it doesn't have a Billiken on it or St. Louis University, if it's a shirt that's blue and white with like some sort of like
yeah,
HT or whatever.
yeah. I think, wow, you'd have to make the case that it's something that is not the same product as what SLU is selling. Like if you could say like this is high fashion,
Yeah,
or something like that
Like
if
the
you want to.
Molina wear. You've seen the Molina stuff. Like
Yeah. Right,
there's that company that does actually this. They
right.
put out hats with baseball players' names on them. Like you can get a hat that says like Aaron Judge, like
Yeah,
in that script font or
right.
whatever.
Like, and I've seen players who have their own personal logos and like, or whatever, and whatever other
Exactly.
personal branding they might have.
It couldn't be like I'm guessing you couldn't say get an Adidas shirt. Like it couldn't be a deal with like you couldn't
I
put
see.
that logo on an Adidas shirt.
Yeah, but if it was your own brand,
Or
maybe.
not
Yeah,
even branded, like just a Gildan, like or a
sure.
soft cotton tee. Like
Yeah.
you could do that, I think.
Yeah,
But
that's a, a good question for the lawyers.
dude, we could go on forever, just back and forth. However, we got some concrete news we got to talk about as far as scheduling goes. It's coming together. We're actually going to have a real schedule this year. And it is slowly but surely evolving and becoming concrete.
Yeah, it's actually shaping out to be a pretty nice schedule too. What we've know so far is that we've got this Cancun challenge right before Thanksgiving,
Which
and
was rebuffed by about everybody.
yeah, and look, yeah, as neutral tournaments go, it's not a great one. SLU is going to be expected to win the thing. We could and should. What it does is it gives us a home game against Mercer. Mercer, which just because they're kind of a smaller school in a smaller conference, don't write them off. That's a sneaky good conference for one, and number two, Mercer has they their net rating last year was 117, which is a pretty nice rating for a team that comes out of a one bid league like that. Mercer's always good. Was it Duke that they upset in a tournament? Not that
It
all that matters.
was, I
Yeah,
believe.
so like Mercer's kind of that team that winds up with like a 14 seed and is like sneaky good. So don't sleep on Mercer. That's a nice, if you're going to look at it as like even though it's not truly a buy game, if you're looking at it like that kind of opponent, that's a really good one. And then we play Illinois State in Cancun. Illinois State was kind of a disaster last year, one of the worst teams in the Valley, and they're still rebuilding, so they're going to be in the bottom half of the Valley again. We should win that, and then we would play the winner of Buffalo and Stephen F. Austin, who also come from generally one bid conferences, but are two really good programs from those. Buffalo,
That's Jim Whitesell and Angus Thorpe on staff over
at
there.
Buffalo, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a good squad. They were 86 in the net ratings last year. They should be pretty solid again. Stephen F. Austin has won the Southland quite a few times, 142 in the net. And then we've got a game at Boise State, which is it's a tough road trip. But we're gonna have to charter out there. But that's another nice team. They were in the NIT with us last season, and though we didn't play them, they actually won their first round game before getting knocked out of the NIT. So that's another team that was kind of one of the better teams in the Mountain West. And
do they have a blue court now? Have they blew their court?
I know it's whatever their court design is. I know it's weird because I know Boise is all about that. I don't know if it's all blue, but I'll have to look it up. I remember it being really flashy and strange.
Okay, so it is currently the Bronco logo takes up the entire 2-point area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty something.
Yeah, it's
kind of cool. I like it, but
I hope we get out there early enough to shoot around on that enough to get over the distraction, because that's like the blue turf for their football team. I know it's kind of gets in players' heads sometimes, but yeah, that's a good game. They should be solid again. We've got Drake in Las Vegas right before Christmas as part of a kind of a doubleheader event there, but we just play the one game. Drake, who was kind of a darling early last season when they started like 18-0, wound up in the NCAA tournament despite kind of losing a few games down the stretch, and they ended up like top. They bring almost everybody back. They lost one guy to transfer, but they do bring in another transfer. So I mean, they're going to be just as good as they were. They might not win 18 in a row, but they're going to be solid. So
well, they're not going to win 18 in a row because we're going to kick their ass.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But that's a really good game. It's a neutral court game. It's gonna, we'll see what both teams look like by late December, but it should be a close betting line, I would think, by the time. The dates yet on these, but Auburn, UAB, Boston College all come to SLU, and I think those are all supposed to be Saturdays in November and December, and then we go down to Memphis, which won.
That'll be a fun road trip. Yeah, we're having technical difficulties because I'm not in my normal habitat over here. So Pete, repeat that in case it didn't come through. All right, we are having the connection is unstable. You there, Pete?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. Let's we just had connection issues, so
where do you need me to go back to?
Just Memphis. Talk to me about Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis is a great road trip, 4 hours down the road, and coached by Penny Hardaway. They've got a ton of talent. And though they were kind of disappointing last year because of the amount of talent they had, they were, a team that was kind of hastily put together, maybe underachieved a little bit, but then went on to win the NIT. So that's going to be a really good game. And there's a little extra drama there because Jordan Nesbitt went there last season and then transferred to SLU, as we know. So that a little extra storyline there as well. Also, DeVell Roby on staff now as a Memphis guy. So
what? Oh yeah, he's on staff here. Sorry, I forgot about that.
On staff here, yeah. But from Memphis originally. So
our coaching staff is turning into the roster. It's how we always talk about the roster. It's like, oh, I forgot about that guy. Like, yeah. Now I'm forgetting about guys on the coaching staff.
Yeah, well, we just added a few in the last month. So
yeah. One more piece of news, I guess, before we go on to some women's and men's soccer scheduling talk. The Billikens put out a grad transfer offer. Peculiar offer. Tell me about this 5'11" guard.
Yeah, so DeAndre Jones from Central Arkansas is he on the was reported on the 9th that he received an offer from SLU and said he's got interest from a number of major schools right now. So he had only played really in the first 9 games for Central Arkansas last season, and then in the 10th game suffered a season-ending injury. So he was a senior at Central Arkansas and would be a grad transfer. He did graduate in 4 years.
All right, we got some technical difficulties again. Some internet issues. All right, Pete's back. Trey, guess we'll
Okay.
talk about we'll talk about Williams again.
All right. So DeAndre Jones from Central
Or
Arkansas.
sorry, DeAndre Jones. Sorry.
Yeah. So he's 5'11", 160, small guard, but he's UCA's all-time leader in assists per game, steals, turnovers also, but and that's all despite having his senior year cut off by injury. So he's a point guard, good 3-point shooter. He was shooting about 53% from three last season before he went down. So he kind of, we've been talking about maybe SLU adding a forward for this season. So he's kind of unexpected in that sense, but he does kind of give us the chance to throw some different looks at defenses. SLU actually did play him in each of the last 2 seasons. 2 years ago, he scored 22 against us. This past year, he didn't have as good a game against us. He scored 10 and had 8 assists and 7 turnovers. But he's a different player than any other guard we've got on the roster right now. He's just a complete but small, undersized point guard, shoots the 3. So gives us some depth at guard potentially, and we still don't know for sure about Williams' eligibility. He's going to need a waiver from the NCAA to be immediately eligible. So there's also that factor as well.
Yeah, I get the impression from the staff that they don't know yet. I don't think they have any clue really.
Yeah.
NCAA, there's no precedent, and the NCAA can do kind of whatever they want on it. I get and I also, in talking to people around the program, that I think Travis just wants to put as many looks on the floor as possible. I don't know if I agree with that. I kind of really lean towards the Majerus side of, we're going to do what we do, and we're going to do it really well. And you're going to have to stop us, or you're going to have to change your game to beat us. So, it'll be interesting.
That's a good way of putting it, because Majerus was such a system coach, and I think at SLU we've been so used to that. Soderberg was such a system coach, whereas Ford really plays to his roster's strengths. He doesn't have as much of like, this is my system, this is how we're playing, this is what we do. It's more like what I'm going to get the best players I can get, and then what makes sense with this roster. What kind of looks do we throw at our opponent? So it's more, coaches have won both ways, and there's in a variety of other ways. So there's no right answer there. But yeah, he would give us, depth and some different looks at guard.
We're going to go on to women's soccer. They released their schedule. It is a really nice looking schedule. A lot of bigger name schools on the list. They actually take on SIUE and Evansville on the exhibition slate. That'll be August 7th and August 14th. They kick off the regular season at Herman Stadium against Xavier. It's the return game, if you remember, from last season. They follow that up with a game at Herman against Iowa. I'm not sure. I think they played them last season as well. They're going to head to Lawrence to play Kansas, then go to Normal to do a return game for Illinois State. That was a game that was played at Lou Fuse, the old Rams Park. They have Louisville at Herman Stadium. They go to Purdue. at home against Missouri State, and then they start the conference schedule. And Dayton has to be thanking their lucky stars because they play SLU a grand total of 1 time this season.
That's 3 fewer than last season, depending on what happens in the conference tournament.
You got to think that was intentional, right?
Yeah, and then the other factor here is they're getting it over with early. That's
Yeah.
the first conference game of the year. There also is one more. Looks like it got cut off here, but we do play Indiana State as well to wrap up the non-conference schedule. Which you look at the non-conference schedule, and they lose the top 2 opponents they had last season, which was Oklahoma State and Arkansas, with the 2 ranked teams, very good teams. They do have a lot of power conference teams on here, but when you look at their net ratings, SLU finished 11th last year in the net ratings, one of the best teams in the country, and would be, heavily favored. Not that you can ever really say that in soccer, but SLU will be favored to win literally every game on this schedule as it stands right now. The number 11 team in the country who brings basically everybody back, in addition to a few transfers. So there's a lot of quality opponents here. There are some good road games. Fortunately, they're not traveling too far for any of these until they get to the A10 season. A10 will, as it normally is, probably be a 1-bid league again, and SLU's got to grab it. This is it's a good schedule, but I really would not want to see more than 1 loss in that non-conference. Maybe a loss, maybe a tie. Tuning up and then roll through conference again.
Agreed.
There's no reason to think they can't do it just because of how strong they've been the last few years, and literally flawless for 3 years in A10 play. So this is a schedule that they're going to need to produce a really good record against.
I completely agree. And a note on my Dayton talk, and I'm assuming, again, this is completely intentional by the league. Everybody plays you get 1 game. There's no home and homes. I'm
Right.
sure after last year, the league is keen on making sure everybody plays each other instead of what happened last year. And that goes for the men's side too.
It's only a 10-game conference slate, so you're not even playing everybody.
Right.
The chances are the best teams on this schedule they've got here: UMass, VCU, Dayton, probably the top 3. Depending on, I haven't looked at all the returning players on rosters or anything like that, but those were probably the best 3 opponents based on last year's performance.
Bonaventure, we can't forget about Bonaventure. It took a final second goal to beat them.
Although I don't think they played Bonaventure in the regular season.
They don't play them next year. I meant last year.
Oh, last year, yeah. Sorry.
So that's one of the better opponents, I was saying.
Right. Yeah, but that would be A10 tournament if it happens this season for them. So yeah, solid schedule, but yeah, they're going to really need to perform against it as well.
Also, kind of a note on how I do my notes and structure the podcast when it comes to non-basketball sports. I usually put the ones that are doing better ahead of the ones that aren't. So that's why we start with women's soccer. And as long as women's soccer does better than men's soccer, we will cover them first. And usually we start with soccer first just because it has most of the fan interest, I think, comparatively to like baseball or softball, volleyball even. Men's soccer, they got a nice exhibition game. I think that's an exhibit. No, yeah. Wisconsin, it looks like they're going to play. Is that a full game or is that an exhibition?
Wisconsin and Missouri State are both exhibition games.
Right. I guess it got cut off when I put it back.
Play in Madison and then play at home against Missouri State.
A couple of really nice games on the schedule. They'll open the season with Louisville at home. Creighton is always tough, and luckily they don't have to go to Creighton because that's a really nice facility and a really nice team with a good following. At Illinois Chicago, if you remember, that's the alma mater of former Watford defender and national team defender Jay DeMerit. It's his alma mater. They're going to have Memphis visit. SMU. They're going to Dallas to play SMU. That's a tough game. SMU always puts forth a good program. The Golden Boot will be contested on September 14th at Herman. I don't remember if they even played this last year. I don't think they played the Golden Boot last year.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to
Yeah.
look. Last year was so weird. I
Yes.
don't know if they did.
I'm guessing they'll have Central Arkansas come to town on September 22nd, which I'm assuming will be the homecoming game at 7 p.m. That's our perennial homecoming opponent, apparently. I think we've played them the last like 3 times. There's been a homecoming game. That'll be the first homecoming game in 3 years, I believe, because they did not have one 2 years ago. And then, of course, homecoming was canceled last year. UMass, Mason, Kansas City will break up the conference schedule a little bit at Kansas City. Fordham, St. Joe's, VCU, Dayton, George Washington, and Rhode Island. Of course, you get Dayton at home, Fordham at home, which will be the Billikens will be out for blood in that Fordham game after what happened in the A10 tournament.
Yeah, that's key to have them at home. And honestly, if you look at last year's net ratings, which I know are not a perfect determinant of this season's strength of schedule, but Fordham is the toughest opponent on this whole schedule, except for Missouri State, weirdly enough, which was 13th in the net last year, but that's an exhibition game, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, having Fordham at home is key after like you said, just a gutting loss last season. To end the year. Fordham's it's a really good program. They're going to be good again. So will UMass. That's probably the second best team in the A10 that we'll see this season in the regular season. And then SLU should be the better team in the rest of those A10 games. In terms of the non-conference schedule, Creighton and SLU were 65 and 66 last year in the net. So that's definitely a good one to have at home. They've got one of the better facilities, like you said, that you'd see on the road. UIC is a sneaky good team. Really, really solid program. And that one's in Chicago. So that's the first regular season road game. That'll be tough. Louisville and SMU are typically very good teams. They were down a little bit last year, but I wouldn't put a bounce back beyond either of those programs whatsoever. I think that's true of Memphis too. They had a rough year last year, but I would expect them to be better as well.
Yeah, I'm pumped to get some normalcy in college athletics with the Billikens, and I will be out to as many of those games as possible after not attending a men's soccer game for the first time in at least a decade. So very excited to get back to attending games normally.
Yeah, and we talked about last year, the program, we've got a couple seasons under the belt now for the new coach, and they're making progress, and this season is an opportunity to build on that and become a more dominant team within the A10, become a more consistent program again. Back when I was at SLU, it was expected that we were in the NCAA tournament every year, so that's what we're trying to get back to. And I think the schedule is definitely an opportunity for, to make the next step.
Anything else before we sign off and go on like a week 2 break again?
No, I would the main thing would be the two guys who just committed, Kramer and Thames. They're both playing a lot of AAU basketball this month. We're going to share details on Twitter about where you can watch them, how you can watch them. And then, of course, as we get closer to the high school season, go out and see them play at Pattonville and at U High.
And then I'll also be trying to get out to those games and maybe do some video, some stuff for Twitter,
Yeah, so definitely go get a look at those guys as much as you can, especially if you have a chance to watch any of the EYBL or Peach Jam games this month. And then we'll be sharing as much as we can about them and every other recruit that SLU's in on, trying to tweet a lot more about new offers, new interest, anything that might be crossing into the recruiting world, and then just everything else, we put on Twitter to kind of
my dumb stuff.
Zach's dumb stuff. No, just to keep people engaged. So be sure and follow us at Midtown Mad Pod. There's a lot of good stuff there. We'll keep adding more. And then if you've ever got tips, information, questions, anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We love to engage in the conversation online.
Speaking of social media, I've just tweeted it out, but I'll put it down here. Notable Billiken, who has never been on social media, has finally joined Instagram. Rob Lowe 15 is where you can find Rob Lowe on Instagram. And I will be shooting him a DM ASAP to get him on the pod, hopefully. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to get that Lish interview out as soon as I get my computer back from the Apple store. That should be probably later. I'll put it out on my birthday. You know what? I'm gonna put it out for my birthday, but it won't be until after my birthday. It'll be July 19th. I think I'm gonna aim to drop it. So look out for the Kevin Lish interview, July 19th. So thank you guys for listening. Apologies for a little bit of a. I think I'm just gonna put this episode out without really editing out the technical difficulties. So thank you for bearing with us on all the technical difficulties, the lack of production value. And it might be on YouTube, it may not be. So thank you guys all for listening, and go Bills.
Go Bills.